It Happened on the Job, the podcast for relatable conversations with contractors. Sponsored by Goodman Insurance.
Welcome to What Happened on the Job. We are your podcast for relatable and relevant conversations with contractors. Maybe a little entertainment for you as well. My name is Mike. That's Brian.
How's it going?
We are episode 48 today, getting close to 50.
We're well over the hill now.
Yeah, almost getting there.
Yeah.
With us today, we have Bill Cummings and Emily Serrano of Legacy Construction. Did I get all that right, guys?
You nailed it.
Perfect. And Bill, president, and we were told that Emily's current title is HR.
Director
of HR, but she wears quite a few other hats as well.
There's the formal and informal titles, but yeah, I think that covers most of it.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, Bill, if you could maybe give us a little background how you got started in the industry and your journey to kind of where you are now as president of Legacy.
Well, it's definitely been quite the journey. We started Legacy in about 2007 when the economy was not doing too well.
Yeah, perfect time to start a business, right?
Absolutely. It's kind of crazy. I still remember the first commercial project we did was for a diabetes and endocrine specialties group over in North Fresno. And we did it, including plans, permits, and everything for $44 a square foot.
Oy.
And I think today probably the same thing would be about $120 a square foot.
Wow.
Yeah. Did you have I don't want to interrupt you too much, but did you have a hint of where the economy was going by the time you started Legacy in 2007, or was it one of those we're starting and then shortly thereafter, wow?
So I'm actually from Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And I moved out to California after college to work for my family's development company, focusing primarily on multifamily construction and going through the process of learning how to be a developer. Part of it was being a property manager. Part of it was becoming a real estate broker and understanding how to sell. And then the other part, which really my family had no experience in, was being a contractor. And so I had got my contractor's license within this sort of umbrella of my family's business to do various subcontractor trades of the multifamily projects that we were building every year. For instance, prefabricated granite, the different apartments and such. And so as I just remember seeing some of these prices that we were paying some of these guys, and I'm like, I can be that guy putting in prefab granite. And
Right.
so we went out and I got my contractor's license, and that's kind of right when the economy decided to go down. And so we sort of pivoted, and I picked up a partner that had done a lot of restaurants and commercial construction, and so we sort of got into that. And then I learned real quick to follow the money. And we used to get into these projects that would be these beautiful restaurants and these really cool, entertainment based things. And you get to the end and they just couldn't qualify for loans. And so I got into medical because, regardless of the recession, if you were a doctor, if you were a dentist, if you were in that field, banks were bending over to just provide you financing and such. And so it really became a kind of a foundation and pillar of the business, and it kind of gave us the platform to grow and then start kind of trying other forms of business, like retail or getting into ag and some of the industrial products, but without having to get into it yet. So within that, we started doing private practice, medical and dental. And then about in 2011, we started working with a group of clinics called Federally Qualified Health Centers. These have become a very prolific source of healthcare for the majority of Americans. I think right now, 1 in 7 people are seen by community health centers. And in the Fresno area, we're talking about United Health Centers, Clinica Sierra Vista, and then there's a number of other ones that are sort of there, but they focus primarily on medical, dental, and other primary care services. What that did is instead of having to go out and find a doctor or dentist every every time and kind of redo the whole thing. It just became this constant flow of business. And so Emily and I were actually going through the a very long process of every project we've ever done together with our main client, who's United Health Centers. And so I bet we're probably in the 60 to 65 projects range. And we've done well over, I mean, I can't even tell how many tens of millions of dollars of business that we've done. But that relationship really provided us the income to start hiring more people, to start getting into other lines of commercial construction. And I mean, from the first project we ever did as a company, which was a backyard barbecue for $30,000, to now we're doing multiple $10 million plus clinics, and really have a book of business for the next couple of years that we're going to do our best to do as much of that as we can. And then kind of from there, both myself and my business partner, Jamie Reedy, who lives in Nashville, Tennessee, we've always been very entrepreneurial. So we've now got 5 or 6 other kind of pivots that we've done. For instance, we've got a data company where we believe data really is underutilized. So when you walk into a market, you can tell someone exactly what they need, how big you should build, where you should be located, and you provide a level of sophistication that really wasn't in the industry that before us. And so we've been able to utilize that to really leverage multiple construction projects in lieu of just trying to go out and find the next project. And so, from there, we started with a couple guys. I want to say probably in 2015, we maybe had 5 people, and, we're almost to 40 people today. And so we just continue to grow and bring on additional resources and figure out how to deal with the new normal.
Wow. Yeah. So the data utilization part, that's interesting to me. Is that something that is it a service that you're providing as a part of legacy construction, or is it something that you are, marketing and selling, as a consulting service or fee outside of just legacy?
We definitely do both. We've got a number of clients where we provide just specific data products. They let us know who their audience is. Maybe it's a board package they need to put together. But I sort of joke, in the past, a lot of the health centers used to use the force or some invisible kind of thing. And they'd be like, I want to build there, and I'm going to build 8 exam rooms, and let's add optometry. And it's like, why? Why would it? And so you just get into this thing
pulling numbers out of air.
Oh, it was nuts. And so just adding that level of sophistication really gave you a lot of confidence when you're talking with city council members and different building departments, and in particular, their board, and going to them and saying, hey, you guys could build something like this. When the data backs up, the amount of people that need access and are income eligible and unserved, when you see some of these chronic illnesses that are killing some of these rural communities, being able to tailor the services and be able to hire people that speak the right language, it's just really important to producing a really high quality clinic that provides the access that these really smaller communities need.
Oh, that's awesome. Very cool. So obviously that's where your specialty is, and that's what you said. And you kind of said that you've gone into some other verticals. Are there other aspects of commercial construction? Maybe are you getting into residential at all? What's kind of your next vertical that you've been kind of experimenting with? I don't want to say experimenting. Well, that sounds bad for anyone you've done work for. that you're specializing in. What's the next vertical that you're specializing in?
There you go. Good job. Round 2.
So over the course of the last year and a half, we've been able to hire some really high quality groups. And so we're going after some big box retail, which is going to create another situation of just multiple businesses over and over and over again. We've done quite a bit of ag and industrial work, but we find that, and even some residential, but the group of subcontractors that we've found and have really good relationships, when you try to apply them to other industries, even within the commercial field, you have to find things that complement each other. Otherwise, you're just going to be blown out of the water with regard to costs and timing and such.
Time loss and all that other thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, healthcare is definitely a big push for us. Retail development, from a smaller perspective, is that, and one of the reasons is that we have legacy. When it started, was just a construction company, and a couple years ago, we found that the amount of effort that was going into these projects to take this concept that an owner has and this idea and go through the project feasibility and planning process and entitlements. We were doing it for just a general contractor's fee, but it would take 12 months on some of these projects. And you start getting into these ground up projects that have rezones and general plan amendments and other things. And so we ended up splitting our company and forming a development entity that utilizes the data and really focuses on streamlining and speeding up the concept through permit phase so that, again, it can flow into our construction company. And so that's an aspect of our business that I think is very well equipped for this area. And when a lot of people have great ideas, but being able to execute those ideas, and I mean, I feel like half the time we're lawyers anymore with code changes and the things that are going on. But yeah, I'd really say development, retail, maybe some hospitality as it comes back through hotels and things of that nature. But all within the commercial realm and being able to utilize the systems that we've set up.
Yeah, so you guys have kind of turned into a little bit more of a full service design and build firm, if I'm hearing that correctly. Is that?
Absolutely. We've got a couple designers on staff that help with floor plans, site plans, elevations, things of that nature, and basically all the way up to being able to stamp some plans. We've got some utility consultants on board that really help with a lot of the infrastructure components to our projects. And then we've got a couple people on board whose sole job is to add soap to the slip and slide and try to see projects happen quicker, because one of the unfortunate effects of COVID is it's become very difficult to get plans and permits pushed through these municipalities.
Yeah, for sure.
We just recently had a project where there's an irrigation canal or irrigation line that sits underneath the edge of our property, and the city of Fresno really wanted to put a bus stop there, but the irrigation, obviously you can't put a bus stop on top of an irrigation line. And so the communication between the irrigation district and the city of Fresno has taken months to alleviate some of those conditions. And in the past, it would have been normally just someone walking over to a counter and being able to say hello, but we found, just an increased level of communication is needed in order to be effective with everything that's happening due to COVID.
Yeah. So what does that, side note, how confident does that make you in our government? This is more rhetorical than an actual question, but how confident does it make you in our government that the entire world, the small business world can turn into, everybody working from home and be 100% efficient and everything be fine? That I just find it mind-boggling that we've heard it from quite a few people. You're not obviously alone here, but that the permit and dealing with municipalities and local government and all that kind of stuff has just literally come to a stall where it shouldn't be that hard, right? I mean, figure it out. But yeah, that's my 2 cents there.
I think it was already a really slow process to begin with.
Yeah.
So yeah, this definitely.
Yeah, I feel I don't feel your pain there because I'm not dealing with it, but we've heard it so often that I almost am frustrated for you guys, because that's not fun at all. Go ahead. I was just
gonna say, going back to what I said before about being a lawyer, it's like you've had to learn to manage the expectations of your clients,
right? And
you walk into this thing saying, "Hey, man, I want this to go really smooth, but I'm gonna tell you right now, there's gonna be some hiccups. There's gonna be some problems. There's gonna be some things that happen. You just got to be ready for that."
Yeah, and for sure.
There's definitely a lot of people that want to do well, but there's just a lot of bureaucracies and systems in place that make it challenging to move quickly through some of these. And, being the fact that we're also building health centers that are providing COVID testing, they're providing a lot of the emergency services, urgent cares in these smaller communities that are extremely important.
Just to elaborate a little bit there, I think a lot of the stuff that he was talking about, especially the data, is really important. He said we're basically following kind of started off by following the money with the doctors and making sure that people could qualify for loans. But really, when we started to dig into the data, for me, the thing that stood out is that it shows, what communities can be served. We have a lot of agriculture and rural areas around Fresno. And so going actually out into like the city of Huron or city of Sanger, some of these smaller areas, and saying these people are kind of in almost like similar to a food desert where there's not a hospital close by, they can't get medical attention, and say, this is how many beds we can provide. This is how many providers we can have, like for a 24-hour emergency service, even mental health services in one of our facilities in Dinuba that's opening up really soon. It's just to be able to offer something like that and provide something like that and show people that want to build it that we have the data to prove that it could be a business that can be supported. It gets the city to buy in a lot better. It gets the board of directors to sign off on the funding for it. It really brings.
Well, you're almost generating your own business rather than sitting back and waiting for people to come to you saying, this is what we want to do because we feel it will work. Yeah. You're almost saying you need to do this because we know it will work. And here's the data to.
You can't afford not to.
Yeah.
And I met my wife doing it. So that's also a big
added bonus.
I've lived a lot of places and I've traveled a lot of places. And I met my wife in Livingston, California, when we built a dental office in the Hillmar, California. So I still laugh. It's kind of crazy where this finds you, but we couldn't be happier building these projects. To see both the social and economic impact that they make in these communities is really, it's fun to be a part of something that's so changing and so relevant to kind of today and what's happening.
Yeah. So from an employee standpoint, do you guys retain any field labor at all, or is it 100% project management, developers, and all those other pieces?
We have 2 laborers on staff right now, but for the most part, superintendents, project managers, we're running really like a true general contractor.
Right.
Trying not to self-perform as much as possible.
Yeah. So, and on that, I mean, you spoke to a little bit of the subcontractor relationship and finding the right one, especially when you're as diversified as you are between, the medical and things like ag and shopping centers and all those other things. But and I have to imagine it's probably even a little bit more difficult where you are in Fresno, as opposed to somewhere like Orange County or LA or the Bay Area. What does that vetting process look like for you guys when you're trying to find subs and guys to do the work for you, at the level that you expect?
Well, I would say, Fresno definitely is not a large market. You go, like you mentioned, you go to some of these larger markets and it's different. And I equate it to, marketing. When you come to Fresno, you're better off taking a couple high profile people out to dinner and making a personal connection than to do this mass marketing campaign that might be effective in a larger city like San Francisco or Los Angeles. But subcontractors, we've been really, really lucky to have some wonderful subs that have grown with us and really provided us the support we needed to get these projects done. And I personally am a real estate guy. I didn't have any construction experience. I just was good at taking tests and was able to get a contractor's license. And it's been a little bit of trial by fire. And it's always been one of the things that we try to do with our staff is we try to get everybody to improve themselves. Get your contractor's license, get your real estate license. Be able to increase your value and stuff. And I'd see some of these.
Have one of our subs was our former employee for many years, and Bill helped him go out and get his contractor license, start his own business, and he is now one of our top 5 guys that we use for a lot.
I mean, if the work's going to be awesome there and you've got that relationship already and you guys are promoting that and helping them grow, I mean, you're just building your network out there and of reliable subs that can do work for you guys. You're almost creating your own network of work out there.
It definitely is relationship based, especially in a small place like Fresno compared to LA or San Francisco or something like that. It's all built on relationship. Everybody talks, everybody knows. Do you pay on time? Do you have work coming? Those are the things that matter here. So.
Well, and that's the good and the bad, right? I mean, the good being those subs probably know that they have to be good at all those things to get work, because you'll go find somebody else that will. Whereas somewhere like the Bay Area or LA, there's an electrical contractor is a dime a dozen. I mean,
right.
you put a bid out there and you're going to get 100 guys that, if you're open to that many, you're going to get 100 different contractors, and you can get everybody from the low guy to the high guy to the good, and you don't know the difference. But out there, if you do a bad job on one or two, and that the reputation gets around, you're probably not going to be in business for very long. So, like I said, you probably got good and the bad part of being in that type of market.
Fresno is a very small market in that sense, and the type of business that we're in is also very tight. You build one doctor's office, one dentist's office, and then before you know, their friends are calling you, and it's a good and a bad. But it definitely, to your point, it's like you have to focus on leaving projects on a good note. You got to follow through. You got to hit your marks, and you got to be available and make it happen. Otherwise, you're going to get a terrible reputation in town, and you won't be able to get any business. And so, I think it's something that we've really focused on, just the integrity and the branding aspect of it, of just doing things the right way, not taking the short way out. And I think it's inhibited our growth a little bit, but, looking with where we're at now, and we're continuing to grow, and even in the worst type of a market, I think it kind of justifies what we've done and our process. And, we're able to bring on high quality, high integrity people like Emily and some of the other hires that we have that really add to our business and stuff. And I mean, there's just a big difference between hiring mid-level guys that fit or girls that fit within a system versus hiring higher level people that have their own systems and are willing to get their hands dirty and help you build something special.
Yeah. So, and on that, it probably more a question for Emily, but what are you guys looking for when you're looking to bring on new people? Is there a level of experience that you have to have, or would you rather, have somebody with no experience that fits the culture that that you can train, or maybe a little combination of both? Or
so we actually have a really wide range. For me, I was really hesitant to keep adding so many people, but I knew we had the work there and we needed people. But I also wanted to keep the integrity of what Legacy was. Like I said, when I started in, around 2014, around 2015, we had 3 to 5 people. So you can imagine, with it being so small, you're really close. You spend a lot of time together. You know about each other's kids. Everybody knows what's going on with everybody. And the more and more people you add and different personalities, you start to get away from that kind of family atmosphere. And for me, trying to keep the team or family or small business culture was really, really important anytime that I spoke to somebody. I also can be a little bit intimidating sometimes. And
that's not a bad thing, though.
So sometimes the people that I wanted, was really hard to get. But I think that definitely for somebody that's going to be working out in the field, the number one thing I'm looking at is their experience. And also how many times they changed jobs. Like for me, I'm a nester. Like I get into a place and I stay there for 10 years. I will probably be at this company for the rest of my life. And when I see people, and it's hard in the construction industry.
Get a contract, Bill. Get her to sign that.
It's a verbal contract right there.
Is this it's being recorded? Darn it.
Binding.
Right. But I would like to see people kind of similar, where they're going to be loyal to our company, because we're also very loyal with our employees. We're very giving. We're very understanding that people have lives, they have children, but we also know that we need the work to be done. So for me, it's definitely a personality and a culture thing first, and then experience and knowledge. Obviously, when you're on a job site, you need to know what you're doing. You need to know how to use a computer. There's things that you have to know. And sometimes that's a hard balance to find. But I think we have a really, really good group right now. And it's made us successful over the last couple of years.
Well, kudos to you. I mean, to be able to figure out how to build a team so quickly in such a short amount of time. Were there any hiccups at all? Any kind of growing pains, lessons learned that you could share? That
I mean, 100%. We're still going through it, I think. But like I said, it's a culture thing. We have hired some people in some higher up positions with their experience and their knowledge to come in and help us create procedures and protocols. When I came in, like I said, there was no employee handbook. There was not even a time clock. We were trusting that people were writing down their time, and that's the time that they were working. And so to establish some policy and procedure that way, we did the same thing with an estimating team. We did the same thing with our operations team. We brought in people that had experience and knowledge and kind of knew how to set up the system. And so when you bring in people that know what they want to happen and try to force it to happen really quickly, there's obviously going to be some rubs there on, what everybody thinks that it should ultimately end up being. And that was really hard to make everybody kind of mesh and work together. But we're all here for the same goal. We all wanted this company to be successful. And so I think we kind of got past those road bumps. I mean, Bill, do you have any stories that you can think of that can be recorded?
I mean, I think poor Emily, HR has become such a full-time job of just everybody wanting something and trying to keep everyone happy. I feel like I'm more of a coach, and I got all my stars, and this guy likes to eat lunch at 11:30 every day, and this girl likes she likes Skittles with her, whatever it is. It's like you just have to figure out how they all accept information, and it doesn't become like how you communicate. It's like, how do they listen? And how do you get everyone to buy into this larger kind of picture that is not the traditional company? Because we have fundamentally, and I personally, I fundamentally just don't like this old school style of business where you've got all of these rigid layers of management and it's like, I want the best idea wins. I want everybody to be dynamic. I want people to feel comfortable. I want people to want to come to work. I think that's, what are we going to do to get the best out of you? And let's be open to have a conversation about it. And so, I've learned, I think some of the lessons that I've learned is that there's certain things in construction that are done a certain way because that's just the way that those things happen, and there are certain things within the construction field that you have an opportunity to improve upon. I would just say, the things that have worked and haven't worked have been the biggest lessons learned. Not having a parent that's in this industry or a mentor that was a contractor, we've done a lot of trial and error. We've tried to improve upon certain things, and some things have worked really well and some things haven't. But we definitely rely on technology and want to put a lot of effort and time into our people because that's what's going to make it successful.
Yeah, no, I mean, everyone's going to run into hiccups and road bumps and hurdles or whatever you want to call them, but making sure you have the right people and some systems in place and being willing and able to pivot and move and without a lot of pushback from your staff is probably in my opinion one of the keys to being able to stay successful and get on the right path there.
There's been some pushback. Definitely some pushback. Hopefully
in a constructive way, though, right? I mean, you want people to challenge you and to bring ideas to the table.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I played soccer in college, and I very much appreciate the athlete's mentality and the competitive juices and things all within a constructive and positive kind of framework. And so, that's really what we try to promote. We try to do a lot of fun things as a company to promote teamwork and sort of camaraderie and such. But, when you give people a lot of room to be successful and work on their own hours and get things done, just to Emily's point before, you have to get really good at hiring people and asking the right questions during the interview process so that, the people that you're hiring are self-motivated, and they don't fall apart under a less structured environment that you find at maybe some of the larger construction companies in town.
Yeah. So kind of, if we can pivot a little to kind of the social situation we're in now, social experiment, some people have called it. What are some things you guys have done to manage, obviously workflow? I'm sure that there was some slowdown and hopefully that's getting back to normal now, but also maybe more importantly, some of the employee morale things that you guys saw through that whole process.
It's been interesting, that's for sure. I know that you and I were kind of chatting a little bit before we started this. Obviously in March when we had our orders to kind of shut down, there's an instant panic of what are we going to do? Nobody knows the right responses to this. We were in a very fortunate situation where the projects that we are working on, being healthcare facilities and being places that are needed in a pandemic like this, or retail where, those stores aren't grocery stores and things like that aren't going away. So I think we found ourselves in a really unique situation that our projects kept going. So our guys that were on site, following all the procedures and policies in social distancing and having all the supplies they needed on site, but being able to continue working really, really helped, to keep the morale. We didn't have to let anybody go. In the very beginning, we were great. I think everybody was a little bit nervous and cautious about what this was ultimately going to end up being. All of our office staff was able to work from home. A few people stayed in the office, but were able, we have a pretty large space where they were able to distance themselves if they felt, good enough to come into the office. Our telecommunications, like I said, we started using Microsoft Teams and having video conferences and chats and sharing documents. And it was really seamless, although it was very chaotic all at the same time. But, we have a really great group, I think, that all kind of pitched in and knew what we needed to do. And the only thing I think that, and Bill, you can kind of elaborate, the thing that I think affected us the most was a little bit of slowdown of material deliveries, material supplies, especially things that were coming from out of state, just because a lot of warehouses just basically closed down. Slowed our schedules a little bit, but we're about to wrap up, I think, 4 projects in the next 30 days that, a couple of them I think maybe should have closed up last month and there was a few delays, but we've been okay. We've done fine.
Yeah, I would say very much like that. We've been very lucky. The projects that we're going continue to go. The lower risk projects, they're continuing to move forward. I mean, if COVID has done nothing else, it's definitely highlighted the fractures and the holes in our current healthcare system, in particular for a lot of the lower income families, which is the preponderance of people that live in our communities because of the predominance on agricultural jobs and such. So, it's that part of it's been really challenging. Getting into the built environments, identifying different types of technology from a mechanical system of, can you use infrared to clean air? What are the types of touchless entry systems? Different types of digital check-ins and different ways to kind of do business so as to maintain the social distancing and the stuff that we're doing. That's been really important to stay current on. But we're sort of in a weird position right now because there was the original sort of surge, and then everybody started reopening, and so it wasn't long enough to really cause long-range built environment changes. But as we continue to get more back into the restrictive behaviors and kind of get back into the more COVID lifestyle that we've come to know, it still stands to be seen what's going to happen to all of the projects and what the future of medical and healthcare is.
I don't see the level of safety and awareness that was forced to happen on job sites over the last couple months. I honestly don't see that going away. I see it only, getting more and more restrictive and safer and all those other things that, as it as we move forward, even out of this?
To give you a number, so there's roughly 600,000 people that live in Fresno and Clovis. Of that 600,000, 350,000 of them are income eligible for the federally qualified health centers and unserved. Fresno is one of the largest markets where we could build 40 facilities and still not have enough to just take care of today's population. And, all of a sudden this happens and nobody can go see the doctor anymore.
It just proves your point there. Yeah.
It just compounds and already, it's so difficult to get doctors here anyways. This is just making it more and more challenging.
Wow. Well, I mean, if nothing else, you've got job security for quite a while, if that's, if those are the numbers out there, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, you look at Stockton, Modesto, Merced, Bakersfield, Visalia, you go out to Salinas. I mean, all of these agriculturally dominant communities have this severe lack of access for a majority of the people. And so I think for us, regardless of your political views, the health centers are the lowest cost per patient model out there. And they're the second most, they see more patients than anyone in the United States outside of the VA system.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I know personally, I hate going to a primary care. I'd rather just walk into a clinic where I can be seen and in and out in, a half hour and be done with it and move on. They're a lot better.
I don't know when the last time you went into some of these clinics we're doing. I mean, they are gorgeous. Yeah. Straight out of Palo Alto, just beautiful.
So in a former life, I was a medical supply sales guy. I worked for a company called McKesson. And so I had a few down here in Orange County, but I had a few community health centers that were, or we called them CHCs, were, some of my accounts. And there was some lower end ones, but then there were some really, really nice ones.
Those are the ones we build.
And very busy, busy. And you're right, to your earlier point forever ago, you had multiple disciplines within those health centers that were helping these people. So very different than your primary care physician.
Oh, for sure. So what does the future look like for Legacy? Obviously we've highlighted there's some job security and work out there for you for quite a while as far as the need, but what's the 3-5 year goal? I mean, where do you guys plan on taking this?
Well, I would say, we're going to continue to do our sort of test market with Fresno and our current group of business. And then there's 5 or 6 other markets that we've identified that would benefit from a substantial number of clinics to be built. So we are currently working with different community health centers within those markets to figure out how to build more clinics. Our goal has always been the beginning is, you guys are building 1 or 2 clinics a year, but you're never going to catch up with the unmet need. Why don't you let us come in? We'll help you build 5 or 10 a year, and you can start making a dent in what needs to happen. So I would definitely say continuing the healthcare, continuing to diversify with that, because the billable services and just the overall, talk about our presidential election. It's if Biden gets in, it's going to dramatically improve the amount of funding for these health centers. That could change some things. But
it's almost like you need a political action committee almost to work in these other markets for you ahead of time to start kind of pushing those data numbers and pushing that narrative to kind of help push the work.
That's exactly right. Soft touches before you reach out to them to kind of let them know what you do and everything. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, we'll let you guys go. We appreciate your time. Before we kind of end here, we want to give you an opportunity to let the people know where to find you. Give your shout outs, your plugs, your social media or Facebook or whatever it is, websites, whatever you got.
You're going to put me on the spot. My poor girl Amanda's going to be so mad at me. We hired a girl just recently to start doing all of our social media, and I love her, and she's so great. She is completely taken it off my hands, and I have no idea. So.
Well, by the time we get it back from our editor, we'll have done
all I know is Legacy Fresno. I know we have an Instagram. I know we have a Facebook. I know we have a LinkedIn, and I know we have a website. So look for Legacy see Fresno.
We will link them all up on our when we get it all done.
When we launch it, yeah.
Yeah, when we launch it. Well, thanks so much, guys. Again, we appreciate your time. You all stay safe. We'll keep in touch. And thanks again for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for listening. And if you've made it this far, go ahead and give us a like or 5 stars or whatever means you like us.
Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. And check out our website for more video content and extras.
While you're there, shoot us a message if you want to be a guest. We'd love to have you on.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.